It's time to take a ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive with our co-hosts, Alan Saunders and Zachary Smith.
Welcome back to another episode of Steelers Afternoon Drive. I'm Zachary Smith. Then, of course, Alan Saunders. Alan, how we doing?
Doing good. Was supposed to get a thunderstorm that kind of sort of never came. Practice ended early. Still like some – I'm over here so that I can – if things go badly, I can just duck under. There's like a building right in front of me here, the Rodgers Center.
Yeah,
I can
it looks
just
a
get
little
into
bit
the
different
overhang.
in the last couple days.
Yeah. I did that once last year for a post game. I think it was the Washington game where like I was in a concourse and it started raining and I just picked up the tripod and just like walked over out of the. That was good.
I remember this.
So hopefully I don't have to do that, but it's good to know that I have that tool in the tool bag if necessary.
Also, it's a Friday and we don't have DB with us, and the people are probably very alarmed right now. But fear not, DB will just be on the show on Monday. We just figured, with today being a practice day, Monday not, made sense to just switch those days. So DB will be on with us Monday, kind of recapping what happened over the weekend and stuff like that. Because even though the Steelers will be at work, we will not have an afternoon drive until then. So have a bunch to talk about then. But Alan, first things first, piece of news to talk about. In addition, made to the safety room, Chuck Clark brought in, and not only was he signed, he was immediately there on the practice field with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. The tweet came out that he had signed, and he was on the field like 5 minutes later, and then he was with the second team defense like a half an hour after that. It was just, all right, Chuck, here you go. I mean, my expectations are low for a guy who probably doesn't know a single word of the playbook and is just running around out there. I think he looked great, but like physically, he looked like he's in good shape anyway, so that's a plus. An interesting signing. Chuck Clark is not like the free safety that the Steelers looked like on paper they needed, but I think a couple things. I think there's some faith in Juan Thornhill's ability to be that fifth DB and be that free safety they need him to be. I don't think they're out there looking to replace him in that role. I think they want somebody that could go along with him. And I think then you look at Chuck Clark and you're like, okay, he could do that. He could fill that third safety role. He can be a veteran backup. And the other part of this is Sebastian Castro, was talking to him today. He feels like he can play either. He did not in college. I think he only had like 50 snaps of free safety in college, but he feels like he can play either. He was at free safety again today a little bit. So I think the combination of you bring in Clark, you have Castro at free safety. Now it kind of looks like, okay, maybe the depth at safety isn't the gigantic hole that it looked like it might have been a week ago.
Yeah, in terms of Chuck Clark, assuming health here, I like the player that he's been, and I think he's really good around the line of scrimmage as a box safety. I know that he's played free safety as well. I prefer him as, a guy that would play around the line of scrimmage and in the box more than a free safety. Even though he actually had more like free safety snaps going back to just last year for the Jets. So it's actually completely the opposite archetype of safety I thought they were going to add if they added one. But I think to your first point there, it speaks to a level of confidence in Juan Thornhill that, right or wrong, seems to be there.
Yeah, I don't really understand. It seems like the fans really dislike Juan Thornhill. I don't really get it. You mean, Kansas City Chiefs won 2 Super Bowls with him at free safety. It's not like he can't play the position. He's the question mark there is more his health and his lack of ability to stay healthy over the last 2 years for me than it is his play, which I think has been fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because I think even going back, like he was talking about, hey, go watch the Cleveland tape. I did. And to be honest, some of the concern that I had there was just an effort level. And I know it's hard to keep guys invested when things go south, and that's probably not going to be a concern here. Like, you get the level of buy-in as Chris Hallett, when he was on the podcast, talked about with us, even when the team was 2-6 in 2022, like there was still that same level of buy-in. So I don't necessarily have a fear there. It's just, I don't necessarily love that from players when that is something that you're questioning.
Yeah, I see that. And he was also coming back from an injury there, and I don't think he was 100% either. So I think it makes it a lot more attractive for a player to be like,
if you're
hey,
dealing with something and the team's not good, yeah.
We're 3-10. We're losing by 21. Am I really going to hurt myself running down a hopeless play? Like things like that. I definitely see.
Yeah, that's fair. In terms of just that, like So have we seen Castro, who came in as a strong safety? Is he exclusively been a free safety, or has he moved to both
No,
spots?
he's played both. Played both. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I was just curious on that. All right, let's dive into, I guess, a bit more. You mentioned some concern that you've seen Steelers fans show towards Juan Thornhill, but how about Broderick Jones? I think even like coming into the season before these clips started surfacing of what's going on at training camp, there's a level of concern there. But, there was a clip that showed him getting beat pretty bad by Alex Highsmith on a spin move. And there's just been a level of concern, I feel like, increasing within just the first couple of days of training camp practice. Again, they haven't even put the pads on, so what can you really say? But that's what I want to figure out from you. What can you say about Broderick Jones so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think the kind of concern has been overblown. Yeah, you get torched by Smitty on a spin move. We've seen Smitty do that to like 100 offensive linemen. Like that's not like that's his first win there with that move or something, or it was like, Julius Welshoff out there, like, like you get beat by really good players in practice sometimes. I haven't seen like down in and down out anything that really surprises me or concerns me. But look, this is what you get with Broderick Jones. You're going to get a powerful run blocker who's a really good athlete that sometimes just whiffs, whether it's a physical whiff or a mental whiff. He's had a lot of those in this game. It's one of the big concerns I had about moving him to left tackle. It's one of the reasons I think he's probably better suited long-term to be a right tackle. But I didn't see anything in these 2 days that I haven't seen 1,000 times before. It's not like he's playing worse or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really tough. I think it's more so being overblown now because, again, there was a level of like fear already coming into this of what it was going to look like.
There are also a lot of people who foolishly thought that the whole problem with Broderick Jones was that the Steelers were playing him on the wrong side, and all they had to do was move him to the left side, and it was going to be sunshine and rainbows, and everything was going to be fine. And that was just clearly not dealing with reality, and now here's reality that he's the same player at left tackle he was at right tackle. Shocker.
Yeah. I will be curious as to when we do transition into pads, what that does look like. And by the way, like, when do we get to those portions where we will see them throw on the pads?
Anticipating Tuesday being the first day in pads.
Okay. All right. I wanted to go to the defensive line rotation next and just kind of like not only how that group has looked, but also just like the reps that those guys are getting, as we can clearly tell that there's some rain now coming down at St. Vincent. But just the defensive line as a whole. We talked about Derrick Harmon quite a bit yesterday being one of the more impressive guys. Did you feel like that carried over into day two, and who else within that group stood out?
Yeah, I mentioned that I think, Harmon is the guy who's been coming out in the nickel. Benton as a starter in the nickel is interesting to me. But I had the Steelers person tell me today that he thinks Harmon has been the best interior pass rusher outside of Cam Hayward already. He's been really good. He gets his hands up, but he doesn't get there. He's quick. He's disruptive. Everything I'm seeing from Derrick Harmon tells me he's going to be a special player right away. I'm not slowing down that hype train anytime soon. I will also say that, look, there's no pads. The defensive line is just crap kicking the offensive line all over the place right now. I don't know. Again, I think that the lack of pads probably leads to some of that. There's no running game, so everyone's just pinning their ears back and trying to go after the quarterback. I don't think they ran. I think they ran one run all day today. So, the game gets a lot easier for the defense when those are the parameters that you're operating under. I expect that to change as we go forward. But I think all of the defensive line looks really good. Cam Hayward looks like Cam Hayward. I think Keanu Benton looks better. He looks slimmer, quicker. He says he's the same weight, but I think he looks like he can move a little bit better. And if he's going to start in the nickel, that's what he needs to do. He needs to be more than just a nose tackle. And I don't think there's a future for him at nose tackle that's bigger than the future for him at three tech. I think it's very likely that you look down the road and the Steelers, look, you invest in what you invested in Jalen Ramsey with the idea that nickel is the base defense, right? So, I think there's a real competition for playing time there And look, they'll all play, but in terms of who gets what reps for Benton and Hayward, and obviously Hayward's not really competing, but to some extent, how much he's forced to play versus how much they want to rest him and sort of have like an ideal number of reps is determined by how fast Derrick Harmon comes along, and to a lesser extent, guys like Daniel Akawale, and then if Keanu Benton can show improvement in year 3.
Yeah, I feel like it is always an important caveat to add that they're not wearing pads or anything like that. And you are my eyes and ears, so like on the ground there. But the one thing that like I kind of just want to add to that is like that's always the case, and you're not getting these glowing reports all the time like you're giving us right now when it comes to Derrick Harmon. So like, I mean, again, it's early, but very encouraged and not at all surprised by how you're speaking about him.
Yeah, I think. I might get over my skis here. I can't remember the last time a Steelers rookie looked this good this early. George Pickens, probably. It was the last time I can remember a Steelers rookie looking this good this early. And he went on to have a very, very good rookie year.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm very excited about it. And we talked about it before, but felt like that storyline, like just him got lost in the shuffle a little bit because of all the other storylines. So I don't know that like a lot of people came into this training camp like, hey, eyes got to be glued on Derrick Harmon, but he's making it where that needs to be the case, I think, here early on. So very excited about that. Sticking along that defensive front there, we saw again some stuff put out about TJ and Alex flipping. I even saw that they were having Alex, rush over the A and B gaps at times today as well. But Tomlin actually spoke about it, so I wanted to hear what he had to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, he basically said, like, this is stuff we do in training camp every year. It's not really new. And that's kind of what we were talking about earlier before camp was that, like, I know we're going to see all this stuff. We're going to see the ends flipped. We're going to see quarters and more man-to-man and throws over the middle of the field and pony probably at some point, right? But, like, it doesn't mean that it's going to happen in the game. So, like, I'm always, like, cautious. Like, don't get super excited about the schematic tweak that you think the Steelers should be doing because you saw it in training camp, because that doesn't mean it's actually going to happen. But, I mean, the other part of that is, and I wrote at the site today, SteelersNow.com, like, TJ's not even that good on the other side. Like, I mean, it's fine, but, like, I think now the A-gap stuff to me is a lot more interesting than just flipping sides.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, like having
me,
Herbert and Highsmith on the field too.
That, to me, moving one of those guys into the interior and having him rush the A-gap occasionally, that some of these Steelers have not done, and I would really like to see what that looks like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned writing about that. I also like, fans that think it's just like this Staples easy button that's just going to completely...
Yeah, it's the same thing as like moving Broderick Jones to the left tackle. You move Broderick Jones to the left tackle, you flip T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith, and it's the two guys on the bus meeting.
Yeah, there you go. Well, we talked about it yesterday. Wow, look at this.
What's up?
Live. We are live, Nick. Did you, and he's gone already. All right, well, I can't ask Nick a question now. Great. But we talked yesterday about the flipping sides thing. We also talked yesterday about DK Metcalf and Aaron Rodgers not being on the same page on day one. It seemed like, at least from the tweets, again, you can tell me if I'm wrong here, day two, it was a lot more fruitful, if you will.
Well, I mean, again, we're dealing in extraordinarily small sample sizes here. I think he only attempted 2 passes to DK Metcalf today, but one of them was beautiful.
So it was only okay. That's fair, because for as many people as I follow that are there, if I see like 50 tweets, it's probably all about one play. So that's fair. It was only 2
It was
throws,
all about one play. It was all about one play, and it was an incredible play. It was Slay against Metcalf. He ran an out. Slay had incredible coverage, and he had an absolutely 0% chance of making a play on the ball. That was an easy button right there. Rodgers didn't even look like he broke a sweat. He just, a little dart. Metcalf had all day to catch it, all day to get his feet in. Slay was there, but there was just nothing he could do. That was, I think my colleague Jerry Dulac called it artistic. I'm going to agree with that. It was, it looked like something you would see in an old NFL Films video. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was just a beautiful play. and you look at it and you go, oh yeah, that's nice. That's completely undefendable. If those two players execute that play for that touchdown the way they did today, it will have a 100% success rate as many times as they want to try it. You cannot stop that.
Well, I think what's interesting about it too is it was Darius Slay on the coverage on that play. We talked obviously about Joey Porter Jr. getting the first crack. You have it written there. I'm assuming, like, when was that? Like, was Joey still covering him first, and then it got to Slay, or like, how did that?
Yeah, I think Joey had I don't know. The first rep was a bad snap. Zach
right,
Frazier skipped one to Aaron Rodgers. I don't know who was where on that one. Then that was the second rep with Slay, and then the third one was back to Porter. They ran a fade, and Porter defended really well for an incomplete pass. As far as I wrote down, those are the only two passes that Rodgers attempted to Metcalf all day. But, man, I'm telling you, when you see that, if you haven't seen the clip, I'm sure you can find it on social media somewhere. It's gorgeous.
Well, I'd like to. I wasn't able to earlier, but hopefully that somebody does have it out there. Yes, I forgot that 7 shots actually turned into 8 shots today, which
Well,
like
here
at
at Latrobe, sometimes 7 shots does turn into 8 shots.
But yeah, some nights it's just an icy late mango. Sometimes it's 8 shots. Yeah.
It has happened before. It will happen again.
I was going to ask if that was typical. Like, if there's a mistake on a play, will they just say, "Hey, that one doesn't count"? And
if there's like an unambiguous mistake, like if someone like does something that was like clearly all their fault, usually that just goes down as a win for the other side. So the one thing I don't is like maybe someone jumped a little bit and then Frazier had the bad snap and they kind of washed it out. I don't know.
Okay. And also within that, is it normal for like the first group to go back in to do the last?
If it's tied, yeah. If it's 6-6, they usually bring the second group back, or the first group back in to do the 7th shot, and they did that, and they got it. It was a touchdown from Rodgers to Freiermuth on he's running right along the goal line on the right hand side.
Something else that I noticed, the first, honestly, in 7 shots, and I was going back through and saying, "Oh, hey, I didn't realize that he already had made a leap here." Will Howard working with a third team over Skylar Thompson. I don't know if like notable is necessarily the right word to throw in there, but like we were curious to see when and if he would surpass him in terms of reps. And already here on the second day, we saw that happen.
Yeah, I would say notable. Now we'll see. Like they kind of alternated yesterday a little bit. Like there would be some periods where Thompson went first, and there were some when Howard went first. I think this was very clear that Howard went first in 7 shots, but then when they went into the team period, Thompson went first. So it seems like those guys are just kind of splitting the third team reps right now, and we'll see how it goes from there. I wouldn't like say sort of definitively that like Howard's QB3 right now until we see a little bit more. But I again thought he looked good out there. In 7 shots, he threw, kind of led Brandon Johnson a little too far going out to the end zone. It was broken up by Corey Trice. I think it might have been going out of bounds anyway. And then he threw a touchdown to J.J. Galbraith, who had pretty good coverage on him. It was a pretty tight window over there on the right-hand side. Had a nifty little swing pass to Trey Sermon in a team period that Sermon, like, bobbled, like, 3 times as he was running over to the sideline. But he just kept going down the field. It was like, oh, and then he finally got it, and it was like a 10-yard gain. And he had another one. Galbraith had a nice day. He had another one later as well.
Completely forgot Trey Sermon was on the team, so there's a reminder there. So that's always nice. Speaking of running backs, though, Caleb Johnson, who you said yesterday you felt like was the most impressive player on the offensive side, wanted to follow up on that and see how you felt 24 hours later after a second practice.
Well, he got 1 run. So, like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it was a very nice run. It was like it looked more like a stretch than an outside zone, but some kind of outside run to the left, and he had a very nice gain, and he didn't do anything else as far as I could tell. So, we'll give him credit for 1 good rep, but I don't want to make too much of that.
Hey, quality over quantity, I guess, in terms of that. Anything to to say about the two injured players as we await them to get back? Because I saw Jonnu Smith and people talking about him, but I didn't even see like Cordell Patterson or any mention of him today.
Yeah, same thing for Smith and Patterson. Smith did stretching and some light, like pre-practice work where he was on the jugs machine. He ran a couple routes, but even in the individual periods with the tight ends, he did not work with them. We haven't seen Cordell Patterson in uniform at all, and obviously Isaac Seumalo, I haven't even laid eyes on the non-football injury list. Tomlin said no updates on any of those guys, but there's a chance they get someone back tomorrow, so we'll see. No new injuries today, which is good, and
No.
I think that's it on the injury front.
How was today's? Do we know like how today's practice was impacted by the weather and like them having to cut short? Like, what did we lose out on from what else they would have done?
Yeah, I missed I think 3 periods. There was 7 on. They didn't do 7-on-7 today. One of those periods is usually a special teams period, and then you kind of have the big end of practice team period. I think Mike Tomlin was looking at maybe doing some kind of 2-minute drill or something like that.
Okay.
But didn't get to do that. So had somebody ask on Twitter, good question actually, if they can make up the time. The NFL CBA rules they're only allowed to practice 2 hours a day, so they can't ever go over 2 hours, even if they didn't get their 2 hours in today. But the Steelers haven't been practicing 2 hours in these heat practices, these first 4 practices, so they could theoretically go a little bit longer tomorrow if they wanted to try to make up that time, as long as they don't go over the 2 hours.
Okay, gotcha. Good to know. Good to know. Also, there's this question here from Berg Sports Fan, and he even apologizes for asking this because he said probably answered this last year. But just curious, in the setting without pads, what is it that you look forward to, Alan? Like, what are you looking for in terms of evaluating players?
Depends on the position. I feel like cornerback, wide receiver, quarterback, you are pretty much able to fully evaluate what they're doing. I don't except for maybe tackling from a cornerback perspective. But I'd say quarterback, wide receiver, there's no difference between this and their real job. Basically none. Maybe the one thing with a quarterback is a lack of pressure, but you're not going to get real pressure until you get a preseason game. Pads versus no pads isn't going to change that. Aaron Rodgers was actually pressured a good bit today. But the defensive line was kind of wrecking shop a little bit. But again, no pads, so like, what does it even mean? Other than we did get to see Aaron Rodgers deal with some pressure. Mason Rudolph as well. And I saw a coverage sack today, which is always nice to see from the secondary this point of the year.
What group was that with?
That was the 2s.
Okay.
Mason Rudolph was out there, couldn't find anybody. Jeremiah Mood went all the way around the end and then grabbed him from behind.
Okay. Anything that we haven't touched on? I'm going to look for a question or two here, but anything else that we haven't touched on from today that you didn't get brought up?
Oh, let's go down here. Did I talk about Calvin Austin? Did I tell you about the Calvin Austin catch?
Well, actually, somebody actually had a question about it right here, Calvin. So we'll just throw it in, and then that's where we'll wrap up. Drizzy 412 said, "How has Calvin Austin looked so far in the setting? Remember, in past years, this would kind of be his time to shine, but then typically when they would throw the pads on, that would go away. I know he kind of broke out last year, but do you feel the same?"
That little Drizzy right here.
Yeah.
Little Drizzy in the 724. Calvin Austin has looked great. He had the best play of the day today. They ran, and I love this because, so what's the big concern with Calvin Austin as a wide receiver too? It's what can you do against press coverage, right? And he's just like, I'm not digging the guy, but he is just very small. And it usually takes elite separators to be able to do that job at his size. Tyreek Hill did it. We've seen some other guys do it over the years, but it's very rare. Okay. Well, there are some things that the offense can do from a coordinator standpoint to try to mitigate that weakness. So one of the things today was you got Calvin Austin over there on the outside in a 12 personnel look, and here comes the tight end in motion right behind him, right at the snap against man coverage. What does that mean? The guy who's covering the tight end has to come right out across. In this case, it was Joey Porter Jr., who's lined up against Calvin Austin. So Porter he's dealing with his own teammate coming down the line, And now, when the ball gets snapped, he can't immediately get his hands on Austin, right? He can't use his length, his size, and strength against him. He tries to take a step forward. It's a bad choice. There goes 19 way up the field, and Porter wasn't even in the camera shot anymore when the ball was caught. Probably about a 30-yard gain. He just torched him. And I think that's what, like, when you look at, is Calvin Austin as a starting outside wide receiver ideal for this or any offense? No, clearly. But, like, there are some things you can do that you can sort of mitigate that weakness with, and Arthur Smith really demonstrated that today.
Yeah, certainly somebody I'm excited to see if he takes another step. But I know we got to get out of here. Alan's got a radio hit, which by the time you guys are watching this has probably already happened. But other than on that radio hit, Alan, tell the people where they can find you.
Hey, Saunders _ PGH on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. PGH Steelers Now is the site's account, SteelersNow.com. Go there, read the words so I can get paid. Sign up for SN Plus. You read the words with no ads. You get all the best content from me, the rest of the Steelers Now team. You get access to our Steelers Now subscribers only live streams, which happen here on the YouTube channel, but they're just for SN Plus subscribers, and they're fun and they're awesome. And you just get to be part of a cool club and help out us do our job and support local journalism. So why not? And of course, anyone can like, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications here on the YouTube platform. Helps this show reach a greater audience, and you don't miss anything because we got a lot of stuff going on right now. Training camp. We got another practice report. Meet Julie Pelusi happening later today. You don't want to miss that as well. So definitely do.
There we go. Good stuff. Of course, leave us a 5-star review and subscribe. If you're listening somewhere else, Apple, Spotify, wherever your podcast from, you will find us over there. Just search Steelers Afternoon Drive. By the way, the number 66, so Faneca to Castro. There's might be some other ones, but those are the obviously notable. And then Mason McCormick, the current, but we like to stay away from that one. So let us know this should actually be fun. Your favorite 66. Assume there's going to be a lot of Faneca down there. But anyway, just search Steelers Afternoon Drive. Do the same thing on TikTok. Then you'll find me everywhere. Zachary Smith, PGH, for Alan Saunders, and myself. Thanks for jumping in and taking another ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive.